At some point during your writing career in high school, you will need to do a comparative study. So where you take two texts and you explore the similarities and the differences between them. In year 12, this is module A, textual conversations, and there's some form or other of that usually starting from about year 9. So I have a formula of how you can write introductions for this particular, for essays, for comparative studies that just for some reason works really well and it's really clear to follow. So I just want to go through that with you. So the first thing you want to do when you're writing, I'm just going to share my screen here. The first thing you want to do when you're writing introductions for comparative studies, my share screen here, is to answer the question in the first sentence, introducing both of the texts. So something that, people can do is sort of write like fairly generic overview statements that, sort of use the words of the question, hopefully, but don't necessarily introduce both of the texts. It's really important you do introduce both texts because comparative studies are text focused. It's not like they're part of, an overall idea, big idea. So for example, sometimes, so for HSC, you do the text and human experiences. In other years, you might do a module on identity or, some aspect of human experience. Journeys, lots of different ones. But when you're doing comparative study, the focus really is on the two texts that you're doing and the ideas within them versus a broader idea that you're then linking to two texts. So because that's the case, you really want to start your introduction and have in all your topic sentences, a comparative feature between the two texts that you're studying or talking about. So the first thing you want to do with the first sentence is link or introduce both texts through using words of the question. And these are all one sentence each. So you're just having one sentence that kind of gives a bit of an overview using the words of the question. The second sentence should introduce the first text. So do them chronologically. Okay, so introduce the first text and its context in relation to the question. Okay, like using words of the question. Very important to talk about the context because that's usually one of the most distinguishing features between the two texts that you're actually studying. So that usually highlights the differences between them or the dissonances if you're using the HSC rubric. And so then the third sentence, as you can probably guess, is going to be to introduce the second text and its context. So this here, like I said, this is kind of looking at the differences between them. Okay, again, using the words of the question. And then the fourth sentence you should be writing should be tying both of the texts back together through the common ideas that they are going to be discussing, which you may have already started doing in the first sentence. Okay, so tie both texts together through using words of the question. Now, don't be repetitive in terms of using words of the question. Try not to repeat the same words, for example, that you use in these ones, but there's usually quite a lot of words in a question. Okay, so try to use all of the words of the question. You don't need to use all of them all the time. So pick a part, use it in the first sentence, then pick another part of it, use it in the second sentence and sort of swap them around a little bit, but always keep that focus on the question. And then, this particular structure, which is only 4 sentences, works really well from a formulaic standpoint. I know it's really rare to have a formula in English, but this works really, really well when you're doing comparative essays. So give that a go in terms of how you're writing your introductions and see how you find it.